Okay, UFC fight fans, we have two upcoming title fights announced for UFC 272. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3, Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan 2 booked for UFC 272. A pair of championships will headline the upcoming UFC 272 card on March 5th with Alexander Volkanovski putting his featherweight title on the line in a trilogy fight against Max Holloway, and Aljamain Sterling facing Petr Yan in a bantamweight title unification bout on the same night. UFC President Dana White first announced plans via ESPN. Volkanovski and Holloway will meet for the third time. The first fight at UFC 245 saw Volkanovski pull off the upset by winning a convincing 5-round decision over Holloway to dethrone him as featherweight champ. They met again 7 months later at UFC 255, and Volkanovski once again secured the victory, although this time around he earned a razor-close split decision that many people have argued should have gone Holloway's way. I had Holloway winning 3 rounds in their second fight, but the decision went the other way. Now they'll meet again as Volkanovski looks to defend his title for a third time after defeating Brian Ortega by unanimous decision at UFC 266 this past September. As for Holloway, he's unbeaten since falling for a second time to Volkanovski, having notched wins over Yair Rodriguez and Calvin Kattar. Yeah. Meanwhile, Sterling and Yan will face off also on March 5th with plenty of bad blood to settle. The first fight between them ended in a disqualification after Yan blasted Sterling with an illegal knee in the 4th round at UFC 259. When Sterling was unable to continue, he was declared the new bantamweight champion by disqualification because of the foul committed by Yan. A rematch was then planned for later in the year, but Sterling was unable to compete after he had neck surgery to repair a lingering injury that had been plaguing him for several years. With Sterling sidelined, Yan ended up claiming the interim bantamweight title with a unanimous decision win over Corey Sandhagen instead. With Sterling healthy again, he'll look to settle things with Yan once and for all as the bantamweights prepare to meet in March. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. We have 2 title fights for UFC 272. I think this card is in Las Vegas. That's where I'm currently at. This is kind of interesting. I'm not going to make picks for these 2 fights. My only comment with this is what's going on with the UFC. If you think about it, at the moment, we currently have 4 title fights booked for 2022. Ngannou versus Gane. But then we also, now the other 3 fights are all rematches. Robert Whittaker versus Israel Adesanya, that's going to be a rematch. And now Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, that's their 3rd fight. And Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan, that's going to be their 2nd fight. So 3 out of the 4 UFC title fights they have announced this year are rematches. And if you think about it, you're going to have a rematch with 2 of the women's championship, with Rose fighting Carla. That's going to be their 2nd fight. Rose lost their 1st fight to Carla. And then you're going to have Amanda Nunes versus Jessica Pena. So, I mean, if you think about it, there's so many rematches. That's like 5 rematches for titles. What's going on with the contenders in the UFC? Is there something going on? We need to get a few more contenders. I don't know how motivated Volkanovski is for this 3rd fight. He didn't even want to take he took the 2nd fight. I don't think he won that fight. And then you have to think about Sterling, what's going on with him. I don't think he was the first champion to be crowned. I think Vitor Belfort was Vitor Belfort. How did that work? I know someone won by disqualification to be crowned champion. I guess maybe it would be Aljamain Sterling. I thought Vitor Belfort fought Randy Couture and there was like a cut and someone was crowned champion by that way. But either way, a lot of rematches on the card for UFC this year. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that. I think the light heavyweight champion Glover Teixeira, he's gonna fight Yuri. That's gonna be their first fight. But we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. I mean, as of right now, probably the biggest fight everyone's looking forward to will be the heavyweight fight between Francis Ngannou and Gane. But okay, so tell me, what do you think about these two fights? Are you excited about seeing these two rematches? One is a third fight. The second is a Alexander Volkanovski versus Holloway. That's a third fight. Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan. That's a second fight. I also failed to mention that on the Francis Ngannou card versus Gane, you have another rematch. You have Brandon Moreno versus Figueiredo, right? That's another rematch. So if you think about it, man, like 4 of the 5 title fights UFC has announced this year are rematches. Either way, let me know, which title fight are you looking forward to most? Are you excited about any fights? Maybe I'm underplaying it. Maybe you'll want to see these rematches. But we're going to have to keep an eye on that. The UFC definitely has started the year off with a lot of rematches. A lot of rematches. Either way, I'm Jason Las Vegas. Thank you for watching this video. And let me know what you think on these 2 title fights. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway Part 3. Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan Part 2. Or if you have any opinions on Francis Ngannou versus Gane, Brandon Figueiredo versus Moreno, that's their second fight. Israel Adesanya versus Forrest Whitaker, that's going to be a rematch. Either way, let's enjoy UFC 272. Let's see which other fights they announced to this card. I'm Jason Las Vegas. This was an announcement fight for UFC 272. 2 championships fights we have to look forward to. Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan.